Welcome to the Empowered Podcast, episode number 66. This is the very first podcast episode of 2015. I took a break at the end of 2014 to travel, spend time with my wife and my family, and I'm excited to be able to get back behind the microphone and talk to you today because I want to share with you just some of the business lessons that I learned over 2014. So I'm going to splice in some audio from the survey review that I did a couple days ago, plus the takeaways and how you can apply them to your business. But the first thing, before we do anything like that, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for listening to the show. I want to thank you for sharing any of the episodes that you might have shared over the last, 14 or 15 months since we got started. In December, I hit my 40,000th download. Yeah, 40,000. I'm at just over 40,000 right now. And honestly, I've kind of been debating on what kind of strategy to move forward with as 2015 progresses. You know, if you're in any of these podcasting Facebook groups, there's a lot about sharing. Should we share direct download links? Should we share links back to the site? How should that be handled? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that myself. And, you know, honestly, I don't think that I have an answer, but I don't think anybody else has an answer either. If you're trying to game the system and get fake downloads, that doesn't serve anybody. But if you're trying to market your show, how do you do that? And what's the happy medium there? But anyway, that's not the focus of today's show. I did want to share some cool statistics with you. And again, thank you for being a listener to the show. My number one most downloaded podcast was episode number 56. If you want to listen to that one, you can go to empoweredpodcast.com/56. But that was with my friend John Harrison, and we talked a lot about video games. Are video games good for people? Do they make you have better hand-eye coordination? You know, we talked about should there be nudity in video games and what that's like and what it's doing to the marketplace. And that one by far is my most popular episode. And here's the takeaway from that. I have known John for a couple years now. We've met through blogging, some mutual friends, and he's a fantastic writer. He's actually got a fantastic podcast as well. But we had a great rapport there, and I think the better you can understand your guest or have a better connection with them, the better the show will be. And maybe, since we talked about, I don't want to say controversial topics, but maybe that's the key there. Say something that not everybody is going to agree with. Or maybe it's the fact that I love video games as well, and so does John. And we had some of the bigger names on Twitter sharing that episode with their followers after listening to it. But over twice, that's podcast episode number 56 has more than twice the number of my second most downloaded. And the final takeaway from that is use relevant hashtags. If you tag somebody that's the guest or you mentioned in the episode, and then they turn around and retweet it with a certain hashtag, add that hashtag to your database of good hashtags to use. For example, John started using the hashtag Gamers Unite. I never would have come up with that, but that hashtag, I guess people are following it, or it's a very popular one in the gaming group of Twitter. I don't know what you'd call those people. I love video games, but I'm not on Twitter all that much. So using those relevant hashtags was a really good strategy there. And that's another one that I stumbled upon by accident. My number 2 most downloaded is episode 53. And honestly, the top 10 here are some of my later episodes when I started sharing more, but they're also, I think I've gotten better as well. So my strategy has evolved over time. The amount of comfort I have behind the microphone has grown and developed. So maybe it's a combination of all of those things. But my number 2 most downloaded episode is episode number 53, which is titled "How to Connect Better and See More Success," and that's a solo episode. No, the third most downloaded one is a solo episode as well, and it's episode 49, where, well, it's not solo actually, it's where Ashley, my wife, interviewed me about the process of leaving my job, what that was like for her and I, for our marriage, for our family, and it was the episode I was terrified to do that one. I was very scared to do that episode. I thought I would lose friends. I thought I would lose credibility. I did not see a whole lot of good things coming from being open and honest, other than up until that point, I hadn't been lying to anybody, but I hadn't been sharing the entire truth. And my suggestion to you is if there's any part of your life that you're going through right now, share that story. All of these bad things that are going through your head right now, none of those are going to happen. And if they do, they're not going to be as bad as you think. We always tend to go to the worst case scenario. Well, I won't share that personal story. I think Ashley might get mad at me if I shared that one. But we always, when we were looking at the events of last January, so I was fired on January 17th at 9:02 a.m. I remember exactly, because by 9:12 I was back in my car texting her and one of my best friends, hey, yeah, I actually did get fired. So by 9:12 I was out in the car, so about 9:02 they were, giving me the bad news. But I was very terrified to share that story, and we didn't know what that was going to be like, and we always thought the worst case scenario. And if you are going through something like that that's challenging, the worst case is probably not going to happen. So, and if you share that story with other people, that episode, when I shared my story, I got more comments, more feedback, more connection with people than I ever would have expected. And when you go out there and you say, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is why it sucks, this is what we plan to do, and maybe do you have any advice? People will come out of the woodwork and support you, and that's what happened to me. So those are my top 3 downloaded episodes of 2014. Episode 56 with John Harrison, episode 53, a solo episode, How to Connect Better and See More Success, and episode 49, originally titled Ellery Tells All, but I think it's got another more SEO-friendly or more catchy title than that. But those were October 15th, September 24th, and August 27th. So those were the later half of the year, and that's when my traffic on the blog really started to take off as well. And I want to share with you, if you're a podcaster listening to this and you do not have a blog, I really think that you're missing out. Not everybody understands the technology behind podcasting. A blog is very easy to understand. Anybody can go to a website on their phone and read a blog post, even if they just scan it, which most people do. Anybody can do that, and it's very, very elementary. We got my grandma a Galaxy S5 for Thanksgiving, and I think it was $1 on sale. And I don't know if she would be able to navigate to my website and scroll through it, but she's like 84 years old, and that might be the exception to the rule. But almost everybody with a phone or an internet connection can go to a blog, and it's fairly easy to understand. Podcasting, on the other hand, Google can't hear what we're talking about yet. Maybe in the future they can, but at this point they cannot. And if you are more curious about when Google will start being able to hear people, check out my episode 60 with Michael Peggs. He used to work at Google, and I asked him the question, when will Google be able to hear our podcast? But if you're not blogging, you're missing out on SEO. You're missing out on another way to connect with your audience. If you hate writing, either suck it up and do it anyway, or find another medium, maybe it's video or something, that people can access your content and get the knowledge that you are sharing on a regular basis. So anyway, the traffic on my blog just doubled from June to December, I want to say. And part of that is the change in podcasting strategy. I'm really trying to learn how to understand my audience better. And there's a combination of things that are having a significant impact there. And again, if you're not blogging, I would highly encourage you to do so. Another thing that's somewhat interesting is that my podcast, with your help, has reached people in over 70 different countries. Of course, the United States has 65% of the listens. And I don't know how my voice translates to French or Japanese or Russian, but they are also in the top 10 listening countries. The top states for people to listen to are California, Virginia, Quebec, Canada. Well, I guess that may be a state. Texas, Florida, and Washington and Kentucky. So if you're in one of those states, thank you for listening to that. And before we go into some of the recording that I had done from just the blog statistics, again, I want to thank you for listening to the show. I want to thank you for sharing the show. And if you are sitting at your computer listening to this, open up a new tab in your browser, type in ElleryWells.com/survey, and I would love for you to take the 2015 community survey. If you're listening to this in 2016 or 2017, the link will be the same with the Pretty Link plugin for WordPress. That always will direct to the most current survey, and I would love to hear from you. If doing a survey is not your thing, send me an email, Ellery@ElleryWells.com. I would love to hear from you. One of my goals for 2015 is to really, truly understand what you are going through, what struggles that you are facing, what you're doing well, so that I can take that information in and either help you with your problems or share your best practices, share what you are doing that is getting you a lot of results, and share that with the rest of the community. So I'm going to cut in some of the audio from the 2014 survey review, and then cut in some more audio from the lessons that I learned and how you can apply them to your blog, to your podcast, and to your business over the next 12 months. Hey guys, in today's blog post, I want to talk about the statistics of the audience of who you are and who you were in 2014. If you are growing a blog or a podcast or trying to invest time and effort and money into building your online business, one of the best things that you can do is spend the time, the resources, ask questions to really get to understand your audience. Think about this for a quick example. Instead of just saying, yeah, he's a guy in his mid-30s who has a corporate job, what if you could describe your audience as a 27-year-old female who has a 4-year degree, who has been married less than 5 years and struggles with technology? Think about how much better you could serve that kind of avatar than one who is a guy in his mid-30s and has a corporate job. If you can really understand your audience, you can better serve them. The more you can serve them, the better that you can do. And if you are one of the people in my audience, thank you for being a part of my journey in 2014. Thank you for sharing your information with me. Thank you for sharing the articles with your friends and family. And I really am grateful to have you as part of my community. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go through the SurveyMonkey results. Instead of just setting up a slide share or, doing some screenshots, I thought, why not do a video to kick off 2015? So that's what we're going to do today. So let's go right in. One of the first things that I noticed over 2013 when I did this is I have more than twice the number of responses, which is fantastic. And by the way, if you're sitting at your computer right now, go to ElleryWells.com/survey, and you can take the most recent, the latest, the updated survey, and it'll have all the questions. And I'm very curious to know who you are. let's see, last year it was 67% of my responses were female. This year it's 48 and about 52%. So maybe more guys decided to take the survey. I don't know. But that's always a good thing. Last year, I didn't have an 18 to 24 age range. But 25 to 44 made up 60% of the audience. And this year, 25 to 34 was about 70%. And then when you add in the 18 to 24, that's 6. So that's interesting. Let's see, what the highest level of school that you have completed. Almost 40% of you have earned a 4-year college degree. 21% have a graduate level degree. And we had a small percentage, some high school and no diploma. So maybe they're in that 18 to 24 range, or they just decided to do something a little bit different, which is just fine with me. How do you consume the content that I provide? Let's see. The most popular answers were, I read the blog at work on a computer. I know that from looking at Google Analytics that most people still read the website on a computer, and everything should be mobile optimized. So I don't know exactly why that's there, but it is. And most people the people who do listen to the podcast listen on their phone. And they do listen to the podcast while doing another activity. And let's see, the smallest number of people read the blog at home. And 15% of you listen to the podcast from my website. I do try to embed all of the audio and try to make that very easy. But there was another question here, and it says, if you do listen to the podcast while doing another activity, I'd love to know what that activity is. So people said, and I don't know any names, so if you did leave an answer to this, it's completely secret, but these are some of the responses. I listen to the podcast while cooking or folding laundry. I read the blog on my computer at home. I guess if there was another way. So, I guess I didn't have that as an answer. Okay, that's fine. I listen to the podcast on my daily commute with a sad face, and I listen while doing chores around the house. So cooking, folding laundry, commuting, doing chores around the house, great times to be doing listening to a podcast. So I'm glad to be a part of those journeys for everybody. How did you first hear about my blog? Okay, now this is interesting to me because it tells me just how valuable you are watching this or reading through the notes on the blog post. If you listen to the podcast, if you're part of a mastermind or the membership site, this is where your value really comes in. Over almost 43% of the responses said that they found my blog through the recommendation of a friend. If you have recommended my writing, my podcasts, my videos, any of my trainings or tutorials to someone, thank you. I would have none of the success that I've had so far or in 2014 if you were not sharing this and finding value. So thank you so much for doing that. I could not do all of it myself. And obviously there's a significant amount of traffic that come, or a significant number of people, almost half of the people who responded to the survey said a friend told them about it and they checked me out. 10% found a link on Twitter, 10% on Facebook, which I know from Google Analytics that Facebook is actually one of my largest drivers of traffic. So maybe you're sharing it on Facebook, and that's where that recommendation comes in. And a small percentage says from a link on another blog or a website. Just as a quick side note, if you're using the Discuss plugin, or if you're not using it, a lot of my traffic, around 10% according to Google Analytics, comes from either a comment I've left or it's a featured guest post that I've written is a featured post or something. So a good number of traffic comes from those comments. So if you're looking to grow your audience, make sure you're connecting with similar bloggers in your niche, in your industry, whatever, and leaving value adding comments, because you'll get a lot of traffic and you'll get backlinks to your site, all kinds of good SEO, a lot of good reputation building. So make sure you are doing that. So obviously the recommendation of a friend is a big thing. If you haven't shared it, let me know why. I'd love to make sure I get all of your questions answered so that you do feel like sharing my next blog post. The next question number 6, was which of my subject categories do you enjoy the most? And we've got a couple responses here, so I'll load those up. Oh, that one response, helpful resources. So the topic choices were personal development, leadership, personal branding, productivity, my personal stories, and other, which was the resources question. So almost, or over 80%, almost 81% said that you liked personal development categories, talking about personal development. Let's see, how to be more productive. I'm trying to think some of the topics that I've talked about in 2014. The next most popular, and this goes to show, if you're not sharing your personal stories about your life, who you are, and letting your audience know who you are, what you stand for, and what you believe in, almost over 52% of the people who answered the survey said that they enjoy most my personal stories. And when I first started blogging, I tried to separate myself, my personality, the fact that I like sci-fi and TV and some of those, little quirky things that we try to hide when we go online. I tried to hide those things, but 52% of people said that that's what they really enjoyed the most. That's what they connect with, followed by personal development. After that is the tie between leadership and productivity, and bringing up the rear is personal branding. And that's something that I don't talk about just a whole lot anymore. It's something that I still study and still try to be really good at. And you can't see it right now behind the microphone, but I got a logo on my shirt. Thank you, Charmaine, for a wonderful Christmas gift. And I try to use the same colors, the same music, the same logos all over the place. So if you are looking at something or reading something that I've created, it really feels like that, hey, I can tell Ellery did this. So that's my little personal branding note for you. The next question, what do you like most about my blog and or podcast? So I'm going to read these responses. Don't worry, the next question is what do you not like so much, or how can I make it better? So there's a little bit of criticism there. So what do you like most about my blog and or podcast? Short bits of great information. It reinforces the positive thoughts, ideas, and leadership skills I want to use and practice every day. It's open, honest, and thought-provoking. Interesting ideas and comments that I can relate to. Thank you. I always try to make everything that I do relatable. It's well-written and helpful for my business. I like that one. It's very insightful and thought-provoking. So 2 thought-provokings. I like that as well. And it provides good content. More feedback. I'd love more feedback. So not everybody who took the survey, about half, almost a third of people answered it. So 2/3 people did not answer that question. So if you do take my survey next time, I would love to know all of your comments. Obviously, I read every single one of these and would like to know. Oh, so those were responses for the blog. I love the podcast because it's real, like talking to real people. It's refreshing. We'll need to begin making time to listen. So maybe that person doesn't answer or doesn't listen yet. To the point and great sound, even at 1.5 speed. I like that comment because sometimes I feel like I ramble a little bit. So this person said that I was to the point, which always feels good. Listening to the stories of others is inspiring and uplifting. It gives me the boost I need to continue to learn and grow. The guests are interesting and you have a nice conversational approach. I'm always on the go and this is great positive content for me to listen to. You have great content, and I love how you are genuine. It shows you really want to help people. And the last one is, I love the podcast because of the guests. I couldn't agree more. The guests make the show. I am going to try maybe in 2014 to do more of the equipping side, more of the tools, the how-tos, so that you could listen and take notes. I do love the stories that I get to share in the lives of the guests that I get to have on the show. But I really want to make practical tips so that you can listen and go and do things to make your business grow, and actual tools that you can use to make changes and see improvement. So I am planning on doing some of that in 2015 here. How can I make my blog and or podcast better? Oh, here we go. The blog could be better if continue what you're doing, a little cleaner, hard to see where things start and end on home. Yeah, I think that comment was left in April. I've made some changes. Hopefully it is a little bit cleaner by now. More personal stories. Not sure, not available, or NA, and not sure. So more personal stories, keep it up, and a little bit cleaner. So hard to see things start and end on home. Okay. I will take that into consideration and see how I can do better there. The podcast could be better if more of them. Not sure. I like it just the way that it is. I'd like to hear you sound a little bit more energetic. Hopefully, so this was also left in April. I've started standing up while doing my podcast. It opens up your lungs, and I don't know if diaphragm is the right word or whatnot, but you get more air. I can be more animated than when I'm sitting at a desk. When I'm sitting here, I'm always worried about knocking around something. So I agree. I think I read this comment in April and started making some changes there. So your feedback directly ties into what we're doing on the show. Which social networks are you active on? Check all that apply. Well, every single one who answered is on Facebook. Everybody. 65% of you are on Twitter. 55% are on LinkedIn, 40% on Google+, 35% on Pinterest, and 25% on Instagram. That's probably pretty typical. I think that's pretty close to national averages. Some of the statistics that I've read, high 90% of people are, actually I think is more 85+% of people on Facebook, around 70 on Twitter, and that's pretty close to what I have here. So that is real and relevant information. Okay, so here's question 10. Last year, the final question was, what would you like to see more from the blog and the brand? And this year I asked, what is currently your biggest challenge or struggle? And if I can, I always try to read these. I usually read as soon as I know there's a new survey response. I try to go in and read it and answer questions. And maybe, I don't know, they're anonymous, so I can't reply back to those people. But if you ask a question, or if I ask you what you're struggling with, I really do try to answer those questions, provide solutions, or give helpful advice from my own experience. And so that's what this last question is. What is currently your biggest struggle or challenge? The first answer, I just broke up a 3-year relationship. I deciding the focus of my future online business, monetizing our brand, sorting through so many opinions of how to do things and creating a blog. I got the very, very basics down and how to post, but now I need to know how to design, etc. I appreciate resources you have, just all so time consuming with no funding to pay someone. Let me pause for a second. If that's your response, I would love for you to send me an email, ellery@ellerywells.com, because part of my message is that it doesn't necessarily have to be complicated. It doesn't have to cost just a whole lot of money to get a blog off the ground. Even my podcast, the book that I wrote, How to Start a Professional Podcast for $200 or Less, is for the purpose of showing people how to do what I've done without spending a whole lot of money.
And just FYI, I recorded a video before I started doing this one, and it'll be available to everyone who uses my members section. So members.ellerywells.com. But it's a how-to video of how I set all of this up. It's a look at all of the equipment that I used. And I'm talking about lighting equipment that I built myself in just less than 10 minutes. And for less than $50 from stuff from Home Depot, it's what I'm using right now. And if you have a similar issue with whatever you're building, most things, if you're okay with changing sweat equity for money, you can save a lot of money, get a really professional result, and not have to be all that technical either. So if that's you or sounds like you, just send me an email and I would love to help you, or check out members.ellerywells.com and I'll have all of the resources, the behind the scenes videos, and want to make sure that there are as few barriers to your success as possible. So the next one, my current biggest challenge is getting my own podcast and coaching business started. And there's a wink. I don't know who left that, but thank you for the wink. Taking the leap. Well, making a plan to then take the leap out on my own and remove the daily commute. So maybe that was the same daily commute answer as they gave when they were listening to the podcast. Keeping the faith. In other words, staying in the positive aura and not growing stagnant. I've been there. If you want to write, you've got to write on the off days. If you want to podcast, you've got to podcast in the off days. And sometimes it's easier said than done. But think about a professional athlete. They practice when it's raining. They practice if they're sick. They practice, if they broke their right arm, they practice with their left arm. And if you want to get serious about this, it's the exact same thing. Time management and organization, that's what they're struggling with. List building, I hear you. Everybody, I think, struggles with building lists. What is currently your biggest challenge or struggle? Present. So maybe that's being present. I don't know. Let's see. Here's a long one, and I'm not skipping any of these. I'm just saying this one's long. Information overload and not enough time. Work is demanding, and I am responsible for a busy federal unit. Very involved with church activities. Family takes priority. 4 to 7 hours of exercise per week. Doctor referred to me as an athlete, LOL. Get my news, weather info, and stay connected on the computer. A little reading for entertainment before bed. Not much time left. One of my coaching clients and I were talking about this just in the last week, and some things have to be cut. Whether you are Einstein, the president of the United States, or a 12-year-old kid and your only responsibility is brushing your teeth, we all have 24 hours in a day. We don't have any more. We don't have any less. And if you want to build an online business, or you want to start a podcast or a blog, or build better relationships, or start, hosting live events, you got to cut something. If you don't have any free time, if you look at your calendar and there's very little wasted time, something has to go. That's the hard truth of it. You're never going to have more than 24 hours in a day. Something has to go. But also, you need to plan and schedule your downtime. This coaching client and I were talking about, you don't run your engine in your car at the red line all the time. You'd burn out the engine. If you sprinted the whole time, you'd never finish the marathon. You have to pace yourself, only schedule your calendar maybe 60, 70%. Allow some flexibility and wiggle room. And if a great phone call or meeting's going long, give yourself the freedom to enjoy that and embrace the relationship building time. And again, don't schedule yourself every minute of every day, because you're going to get burned out and it's going to be counterproductive. The next one, follow through to completion of things that I start. Focus. I hear that one. I hear that one a lot, actually. I hear it for myself. The next one is overcoming all my fear and doubt and learning the technical aspects of running a website and how to use analytics. When it comes to tools, members.ellerywells.com. Tutorials, videos, how to do things, templates to use for autoresponders, if you have a resource question, it's going to be there. The mindset stuff, whether it's with me or with somebody else, get in a mastermind group. It is so incredibly powerful to be able to share your dream and your vision with people who won't look at you like you are crazy when you tell them that you want to do online business. There's so much value in having kindred spirits and like-minded people who are fighting with you in your corner, that most of these kinds of things could potentially, maybe not eliminated, but you would get a support network by being in a mastermind. And I would encourage you, as we're starting off 2015 here, or whenever you're watching this or listening to this or reading some of these notes in the future, that's my suggestion. Don't isolate yourself. Surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to do, who are further along in the process than you. And that's how you'll really take 2015 or 2016 into the future and really start seeing results and making progress and getting to do the things that you want to do when you surround yourself with other people.
Hey there, sorry about the audio there. That's a good lesson on making sure your equipment is set up correctly. I'll be perfectly honest, I checked it and double checked it, but every time you tweak the software to go back and view your video, they like to change your audio source. So I apologize for that. I fixed it this time around. But before we go into the takeaways and helping you build your action plan for the next 12 months, let me mention those links one more time. If you think I would serve you and help you get to where you want to go over the next several months, go to ElleryWells.com/coach. I coach a handful of people, and I would love to hear about you, what you're doing, and to see if your interests and my skills would make a good fit. The next one was my mastermind group. I start a new mastermind. They're private groups, small groups of people, usually 4 to 6, and we start every other month. I start a new group. And as I mentioned, masterminds are one of the best things that I have had the fortune, the luck to be a part of in 2014, and I attribute a lot of my success to those. If you think that being in a mastermind is for you, if you're ready for that, even if you're not ready, I want to challenge you and encourage you to join one anyway. Go to ElleryWells.com/mastermind. And the third thing was the membership site. If you want to do it yourself, if you can't get a time that aligns with other people and you want to work in the late night hour, go to members with an S, members.ellerywells.com. It's a great site. It's growing. I still have early bird pricing on there as it's being built and content is being added on a regular basis. And when that finally launches, it will be for $24 a month. For a little bit more than that, you can get access to a live expertise call. We're going to put them on the hot seat, ask them what they've done to grow their business, and that's going to be really exciting, and I couldn't look forward to that anymore. That's going to be pretty awesome. And then ElleryWells.com/30 days. It's a free email course. The second group went live yesterday. We do a new lesson every Tuesday for a 30-day period to help people transform their blog into a business. Check those links out. Of course, the links to all of those things will be at empoweredpodcast.com/66. That's empoweredpodcast.com/66 for the episode number today. Now let's go into a summary there and how you can apply these things to your action plan for the next 12 months. As you know, I'm always testing things. Sometimes what I do works out and sometimes they don't work out according to plan. But since you just read my 2014 results, I wanted to share with you what you can learn from what I did, the good and the bad. You can learn from what I did in 2014 and you can see what we could have done better and exactly how you can apply it to your blog and your business in 2015. Let's start right off the bat with something that I would suggest that you implement as part of your action plan is to teach people something. The readers of your blog, the people who buy your products or listen to your podcast, they have interest, they have pleasure, they have pain. Teach them something to give them pleasure, or teach them something to remove pain. How to lose weight faster in a small space, or how to get more traction with a blog post. Over half of my most popular posts from 2014 are lists of how to do something, or lists of ways to remove a pain or see progress, or how to. So again, over half of my posts that got the most traction, people read the most in 2014, were lists or how to's. And I would suggest you do the exact same thing. The next thing I would suggest is study your most viewed pages and posts. Take those ones that are getting the most traffic, the most shares, the most people visiting and reading them, and make sure you have opt-in boxes, at least one, on every single one. Now, we're going to talk about in a second about segmenting your list and really getting specific with your avatar, and you can change the opt-in bonuses or the language around each one of those opt-ins to really segment the list and find out what people are attracted to, what they're responding to, and what they're interested in. So take your most viewed pages and posts, make sure you have an opt-in box on every single one, and if you are curious about which pages, there are 5. If you're curious about which pages really transform your blog into a business, below this there's a link to a 30-day email course. It's completely free. I offer it once a month. Make sure you sign up for that, and I'll show you the 5 pages that really turn your blog into a business. The next thing that I did well and that I got a lot of traction with, and something that I would suggest that you do, actually I don't even know if I would suggest it, I would require it, that you do this, and I guarantee that you will see much more success and a much better connection with your audience. If you have a podcast or if you have a blog, whatever it is, teach something and share stories. The more people are comfortable with who you are, the better that you will do, the more likely that they will share your stories because they can connect with you, and people want to connect with other people. They don't really care that it's a blog or a podcast. People don't want to connect with businesses. They want to connect with the people behind those blogs, those podcasts, and those businesses. And that's one thing that I did really well. I didn't share these stories when I first started out, but when I did, that's when my traffic started going through the roof. That's when it doubled. And that's what I would suggest for you to do. The next thing is get to know your avatar better. The better you know your audience, the better you will connect with them, and the more you will succeed. And if you can explain your customer's problem better than they can explain it themselves, you will win. If you can go into something and say, here are the challenges that you will face whenever you start a podcast or whenever you start a blog, and explain those and resolve those issues before people have them, they will love you for it. So get to know your target audience, your avatar, your specific podcast listener as good as possible, whether that's through an autoresponder series or Q&A or whatever it is. The better that you can get to know them, the better you will be, the better they will be served, and the more successful you can be. And honestly, the more money that you can make and the more profit when it comes down to that. And the last thing that I kind of stumbled in but really worked, and something that I would suggest to you, is try more things. I think it was Jim Rohn who said, you'll never know which experience will teach you the most or give you your next great idea. And that's what I want you to do as you move forward throughout this year. Try more things. Test things. Try different color buttons. Try different layout options. Try different tweets or Facebook messages. Just try stuff, because you'll never know what will work. And when you do find one that works, one of those methods that really gets traction with your audience and with your listeners, keep testing, but replicate those things that really get you traction and really help you connect with your audience. So try things, replicate what works, and keep testing. Now, one thing that I mentioned that didn't go so well, and here's some things that you can avoid and really apply to your blog and business. When I started my tutorial site, I didn't pre-sell anything. And what I learned through that process is there is a big gap between, hey, that's a good idea, and hey, here's some money. And I did a lot of research, a lot of testings about getting people excited and interested in the product that I was creating. But that gap between good idea and here's some money made that project something that I consider a miss. And when it comes to pre-selling, when you're online, you can and should pre-sell almost everything. Any product that you have as an idea or any training course that you think you could create to help serve your audience, pre-sell it. Give a list, a high-level list of things that you think that you might talk about. Talk about who you will serve with your message, and you don't have to create anything. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to do market research. Just put up a landing page. Talk about the 5 biggest benefits and 5 excellent features that people will get by buying your product, enrolling your course, or signing up for whatever it is, and see if that's enough to get people to sign up. When I started my 30-day blog transformation course that I mentioned before, all I did was put up a landing page of what I suspected that each of the 5 weeks would offer. How to connect better, how to define your ideal audience, the 5 pages that really change your blog from a blog to a business. I put up those features, put them up on the landing page, started directing people towards that landing page, and I started getting signups immediately. And that's how I knew that this was something that people were interested in. That's how I knew people wanted the concept of what I had to offer, and you can do the exact same thing. The other thing that didn't go so well is web design. I still do a couple websites, but it didn't really fit into my brand, like I mentioned in the blog post. And you might have similar projects or products that you want to sell with your business. If it doesn't fit into your brand, if it's not something that you want to be known for, it's okay to cut it. Don't keep something around that wastes your time or keeps you from doing something that could be making you more money or allowing you to have more impact with whatever you are doing. But there's a caveat to that. There's one thing I do want to point out. When you're trying to move from blog to business and when you're trying to get more customers and drive more revenue, don't be so quick to say no to things that will bring in cash soon. You don't want to just chase any shiny object that may come along, but at the same time, when revenue is a focus, it's okay to do some of these smaller projects that don't line up 100% with what you want to be known for. It's okay to take on those as well. And as you practice those and you do more of those, you'll learn more through that process, but you'll also learn how to incorporate your message into almost everything that you do. So as you go out through the next 12 months, just really take some of these things to heart. And I want to invite you to be a part of a few things that I'm really excited about in 2015. The first one is about coaching. Every successful person needs a coach. The most successful people have coaches. Eric Schmidt, one of the CEOs of Google, says, get a coach. The best advice that he ever got was get a coach. Most people confuse coaching with, being sick or going to the hospital, but that's not true. Sick people don't need coaches. People who are failing at what they do don't need coaches. They can't even see the value in that. But the people who are doing a good job, but want to do a great job, they are the people who I want to coach. Michael Jordan had a coach. LeBron James has a coach. Coaches help you see the things that are going on in your life that you can't see from yourself. Are coaches on the practice field, or are they playing the game with the people that they're coaching? Not at all. They're standing on the sidelines and giving a third-party perspective because they can see things that their players and the people that they're coaching can't see. And the most successful people, like I said, have a coach. If that sounds like something that you want to be a part of, click the link below. It'll take you to my coaching page. Fill out a short questionnaire. Apply for the program. We'll get on a Skype call or I'll call you on the phone and we'll see if we're a good fit. The next thing that I want to invite you, if coaching's not quite for you, is I want you to check out the private mastermind groups. Some of my greatest successes from 2014 can be tied directly to me being a part of a mastermind group. And in late 2014, I decided I want to connect people who are going through the same issues with one another all across the world. And I started my private mastermind groups, small groups of people, 4 to 6 people who are all trying to do the same things, but maybe have a slightly different goal. We get together, and a private mastermind group is one of the best things that you can do for your success over the next year. If you're not quite sure that you are ready for a mastermind commitment, I want to invite you to my membership site. If you want to build your business at your own pace, watch training videos, and be less hands-on but more do-it-yourself, the membership site has training videos to show you how to do all kinds of things that you're going to need to be able to do with your website. And as you grow your online business, it will have templates that you can download and start using, or autoresponder series that you can use to start connecting with your audience and learning from them. And one of the membership levels has access to a live experts training call that I host each month, where you can get on a Google Hangout with experts, ask them questions, learn about their story, figure out how they built their business. And that's absolutely incredible. And there's a link below this for that as well. And then finally, the third thing that I want to recommend, if coaching is not exactly for you, if you're not quite ready for it, is check out my 30-day blog transformation email course. Every week for the next 5 weeks, you'll get an email lesson, and it will show you the steps you need to take that I took to turn my blog into a business. Dozens of people have already gone through the first classes, and their lives are being changed. Their businesses are growing, and their blogs are transforming. And if coaching's not for you, if a mastermind group is not for you, and even if the membership site is not something you're quite sure about, try the 30-day blog transformation email course, and I guarantee you will transform your next 12 months and really start making traction and making headway as you begin to turn your blog into a business. So those are the big takeaways and the lessons and how you can apply them to your blog and business. I wish you all the best in 2015. And that's another episode in the books for the Empowered Podcast. If you want links, all the links that were mentioned in this video, a link to the blog post and that video, which you heard most of the audio from that. It was the rougher audio. But if you want to check out that blog post and get all of the statistics, bounce rates, growth, affiliate information, there's all kinds of stuff right there. Just information about you and your fellow listeners and readers of the community. Go to empoweredpodcast.com/66. All the links will be there in the resources section of this. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of 40,000 downloads in 70-something countries. I'm your host, Ellery Wells. We'll see you next week.